Persad, and I'll be going over the purpose and objectives of this project. This problem-solving workshop will examine the setting up of small home vegetable gardens in the community of our choice and decides its reasonability, as well as teaching persons who are willing to be part of this experiment. By assisting us, families and individuals will rely less on imported fruits and vegetables and more on locally grown ones. It does not only save money for the families and individuals, but also save money for the economy by decreasing the need to rely on imported fruits and vegetables. And the earned foreign exchange could be used in other sectors rather than spending money on food importation. So now for objectives. So first off, we have to establish a target area, in this case Central Trinidad, and come up with a minimum of 3 designs that the community may be interested in. Based on the feedback, we will have to construct the chosen gardening system and grow crops that would normally be imported. Lastly, we will have to develop a video on various aspects of the project, such as proposed design, implementation of designed crops, and how we manage them, as well as show potential savings. So now for the scope. So for this project, we are asked to design 3 different grow boxes and let the community decide what will be the best design via questionnaires. Then we construct the most popular design chosen by the community to test its pros and cons and make an informative video on this project. Thank you.
Hello, I am Josiah James and I will be discussing the food importation bill. In 2019, Trinidad and Tobago had a food importation bill of approximately $5.67 billion. This means most of the products we consume are imported. This can cause problems where if we are unable to import these goods, it can lead to food shortages because of how much we rely on these imported goods. The downturn of the oil and gas sector and the pandemic has reduced the foreign revenue of this country. Thus, it is unsustainable to continue with such a high food importation bill. In an effort to reduce this bill, persons can start a home garden and/or buy locally produced goods. This will reduce their dependency on foreign goods, resulting in a reduction of the food importation bill over time. And this reduction will then allow for funds to be used to further develop other sectors within our economy. Thank you for your time.
Good day everyone, my name is Dwarika. Today I will be discussing with you the methodology and data analysis of this project. So in order to acquire necessary information for this project, primary and secondary research was done. The primary research was done using a questionnaire which consisted of 11 questions. These questions were in the form as what type of crops you may be interested in, the type of design you may be interested in, as well as the amount of money you spend monthly on foreign goods. However, before this questionnaire was distributed, a pilot study was done with my group members and I as to show the timing it will take to do the questionnaire, as well as how difficult it is to answer questions. After doing the pilot study, the questionnaire was adjusted and then sent out virtually to 20 members of the central region of Trinidad and Tobago virtually, since we are in a COVID pandemic. And the secondary research was done via research to get information of the Trinidad and Tobago's food import bill, as well as chemicals needed for growing plants and necessary dimensions that may be accurate for our design. Into So, as seen from this graph, the number of persons between ages 13 to 25 were 5. The number of persons between 26 to 50 were 12. And the number of persons that were 50 and above were 3. Majority of our consumers were of age 26 to 50. So, as seen from this chart, half of the persons that took part in this questionnaire were working, some were students, and very little were retired and unemployed. This table shows the location of people who took part in a questionnaire of different regions in central Trinidad. So, Freeport, there were 6 members, Karapuchaima, there were 10, and Kunupia, there were 4. This table shows the amount of family members that each household have that took part in the survey. So, family members of 1 to 2, 3 members, family members of 3 to 4, 13 members, and family members of 5 to 6 were 4 members. So, as seen, family members of 3 to 4 were over half of the survey population. This table shows the amount of money family spends on foreign goods per month. 2 members spend between $0 and $99. 6 members spend between $100 to $299. 10 members spend between $300 and $499. And 2 members spend over $500. So, as you can see, at least half of the survey population spends on average $300 to $500. So, after acquiring results from the questionnaire, the following were the types of vegetables or seasoning that the consumers may be interested in. So, we have kale, cauliflower, carrots, chive, celery, tomato, sweet peppers, red onion, pak choy, lettuce, horseradish, romaine lettuce, and cabbage. The following table was asked to the community members if they'll accept help for someone to help them set up a home gardening system for themselves. 14 of the members said that they would likely accept help, 4 members were neutral, and 2 members were not likely. So, the following table shows the experience each members of the community had. So, at beginner level, 5 members, intermediate or regular were 2, expert were 1, and 12 members had no experience at all in gardening. The following table shows the type of system that the community members may be interested in. So, for raised gardening, we had 2 individuals. For container gardening, we had 5. And for vertical gardening, we had 13. And this shows that over half of the community that were involved in this questionnaire preferred the vertical gardening setup. In the following chart, the question asks were how effective would growing your own goods be towards your livelihood? 75% of the survey population believed that it would be very effective, whilst 25% were neutral and 0% were not likely.
Good day everyone, my name is Nitesh Seuraj and I am a Year 1 student of the University of Trinidad and Tobago Utilities Engineering degree program. I am here to discuss 2 aspects of our GrowBox project. Number 1, why we chose this design, and number 2, why we chose these materials. Let's start off with the design. Firstly, it is simple to construct. It requires the most basic of tools such as a saw, measuring tape and hammer. The plans itself for the framework are very straightforward, and the fabricator does not require a lot of technical expertise in order to construct it. It is a very convenient and lightweight design. So for example, if it is in an area of the house not commonly used, such as the porch, it can be easily lifted by one person and relocated in order to make extra room in that area. It is also very user-friendly, especially with respect to older people. Because of the vertical design, it does not require a lot of bending over as compared to the traditional way of putting plants at ground level. Space factor was also considered. The frame itself does not require a lot of space, and the base allows an area for extra storage for things such as more plants and an area to place unused fertilizer, making it a very compact design. It also allows for multiple types of crops to be planted, because as each container contains a single type of plant, more plant-specific fertilizer can be used. Now let's move on to the choice of materials. Firstly, we wanted to make it as cheap and environmentally friendly as possible, proposing recycled wood from old pallets for the framework and old oil kegs cut in half for the plant containers, but would not be limited to this. Other types of containers such as plastic fast food containers, old paint buckets, and old bottles cut in half could be used. The possibilities are endless. In my case, I use old wood left over from a construction project along with leftover screws and old oil kegs from the valley. My fertilizer of choice was cow manure, which is abundant in my area and was given to me free by neighboring cow farmers. I would now hand you over to my colleague Alim. Thank you.
Good day everyone, my name is Alim Hassanali and I'll be continuing on from what my fellow colleague Nitesh said about our project, our grow box project on a vertical gardening system. Now just like him, I am a first year student at the University of Trinidad and Tobago, and I'm just here to elaborate a little bit more on what he was saying. My aspects will cover what specifically our design is, why gardening is important, and why gardening is important to the environment. So we know that due to there is an increasing demand of forex from consumers in Trinidad and Tobago, and this therefore leads to an importation of many foreign goods and services being limited. So this type of design that we have chosen will be beneficial for a lot of people, including people who have limited spaces for gardening. The implementation that we are putting is a vertical design, which can be made with recyclable materials that can be found in one's everyday household. The versatility of the design makes it such efficiency combined with effectiveness that could be used for any day-to-day activities or any family. Now the question arises is why is gardening important? Now there is something about the presence of a garden in our lives that sometimes brighten our dismal world. Much of this has to do with something intrinsic in human beings, an innate appreciation of the natural world, you would call it. Why is gardening so important to our lives and culture, and how could it help the environment? Gardening comes with a myriad of well-documented health benefits. The most obvious of these has to do with the fact that quite a lot of gardening is done outdoors, and exposure to sunlight increases your vitamin D, which is good for bones, teeth, and muscles, which we have a fair idea about. In terms of mental health, gardening has also been shown to decrease the risk of dementia and as a type of therapy for those already suffering from it. According to a study published by the journal Psychiatry Investing, this might have to do with the mental health benefits we experience just being in nature. Many studies have found that gardening can also boost one's mood. However, this is subjective. As reported by Quartz, several studies have found that exposure to a specific bacteria commonly found in soil can increase levels of serotonin in the human brain. Now, why specifically is gardening important to the environment? Why would we care? Gardens are important to the planet because despite being human-made, they represent a natural environment. Plants and trees grow there, taking in carbon and expunging oxygen. The roots of these plants stabilize the soil and filter water. Birds, bugs, and bees, especially honeybees, we know to be the pollinators of the world. Bees are one of the most important pollinators in this group, but they aren't the only ones. Your backyard is an entire ecosystem and is bound to have its own native pollinators, and your garden is a great way to coax them into your life. They'll help your flowers look nicer, keep your perennials coming back, and help your vegetable garden to flourish. These are just some of the reasons why our implementation and our design should be considered. Thank you very much.
Good day, my name is Ajay Ramnath, and I am here to talk to you about the types of plants chosen for our grow box project and why. So some of the plants selected were chive, celery, lettuce, sweet peppers, and pak choi. These plants were chosen due to the size, cost, and the demand for the crop. From our questionnaire that was presented to our community, most people preferred lettuce, chive, celery, and pak choi. These plants are very small in size, do not occupy a very large space to grow, are very cost effective, and are available for purchase at any agro shop in the country. Also, these plants play an essential role in having a healthy and balanced diet and are mostly used in everyday dishes. Caribbean temperatures are mostly high, but these plants can survive in high climate conditions once watered regularly and are very low maintenance. So for this project, I personally tried growing kale for myself. Although kale is not an indigenous plant to Trinidad and Tobago, it can be purchased in most popular groceries across the country. But being mostly imported, the price of kale makes it more of a high-end item and is very popular with consumers who can afford this superfood to their diet. Our climate is very well suited to produce this crop, and by doing so locally instead of importing, it will be affordable for everyday customer like myself, and also reduce our food import bill in Trinidad and Tobago.
Hi, I am Shahnaz Mohammed, and I will be presenting on the process of designing and maintaining a vertical gardening system. This vertical gardening system is scaled to a family of 2 to 3 persons. So, what do we need? The tools that we need are an electric drill or screwdriver, a measuring tape, a power saw or handsaw, and some screws. The materials needed to construct this vertical gardening system are pallet crates or any used lengths of wood available to you. These pallet crates can be sourced from your local nearby hardwares. Next, used oil kegs or grow bags or anything of your choice, potting soil, and of course your crops. This is the designing and building of our vertical gardening system. We are first going to measure and then cut your required lengths of wood. Now, these pieces can be variable since you can choose to upscale this design or you can downscale this design to your needs. Then, you will assemble your pieces of wood and secure with screws. Next, you will cut your oil kegs in half, bore holes to the bottom of the keg, fill the kegs with your potting soil, mount onto the frame. You will wet the soil with water before planting your crops. The crops are now ready to be planted into your vertical gardening system. Now, we will discuss the maintenance of our grow box. Our plants should be watered 2 to 3 times daily for healthy growth. Normally, crops need to be watered twice daily, that is morning and evening time. But on hot sunny days where the temperature is above 30 degrees, then they would be need to water 3 times instead. Laying mulch around plants. What is mulch? Mulch is any material laid over the surface of the soil to retain moisture, suppress weeds, regulate temperature, and prevent erosion. But why should we apply mulch? Mulch conserves the water in the soil while providing the roots with nutrients as it decomposes. But remember, too much of anything isn't good. Too much mulch at one time can suffocate the roots of a plant and also can overheat the soil in hot weather, which can cause diseases to your plants due to excess moisture. This diagram shows how mulch works. We have a soil bed that is covered with mulch and a soil bed that isn't covered. The mulched bed keeps sunlight from reaching the soil, thereby minimizing evaporation. It also prevents weeds from growing around our plants. The unmulched soil, however, heat builds up from the sunlight, moisture is then lost to evaporation, and the plant wilts from this moisture stress. As well as when rain falls, the soil is then eroded away. I will now pass you on to Nickoli Ramnath.
Hi, thank you, Shahnaz. I am Nickoli Ramnath. I will be continuing the maintenance of the crops. So use of fertilizers. Since we have leafy crops, a lot of nitrogen is required for leafy crops. So we have crops like lettuce, kale, pak choy, cabbage. These crops are very leafy and they require high levels of nitrogen. Nitrogen is really good for leafy crops for development and growth. A simple source such as Magic Grow 2020, which is available nationwide, is a very good, reliable source for these leafy crops, and it can be used in all the stages of the crops germinating processes. Fertilizer can be applied every 10 to 14 days. It is completely soluble, so you can dilute it in your water while watering, so you can apply it directly to the root, or you could use it as a foliar spray. Use of insecticides. Now, if necessary, a cheap, reliable insecticide is Fastac, again, available nationwide. In my area, my community, there's not much pest in terms of caterpillars, mites, grasshoppers that feed on leafy vegetables. So if necessary, this is a very reliable insecticide. As you know, insecticides can help prevent your crops from feeding insects. This insecticide can be applied every 2 to 3 weeks. Okay. Crops exposure to sunlight. Leafy crops should be exposed to approximately 6 hours of sunlight per day. Now, too much sunlight, especially with leafy crops, can cause nutrient breakdown. In the end, this results in your crops tasting bitter. So you don't want to expose your crop to too much sunlight. Okay. Areas where we can improve on the design. Building the design with much durable, long-lasting materials such as PVC. Now, PVC, is not biodegradable. Wood is biodegradable. After time, wood deteriorate because it is coming in contact with moisture, and it is not a very durable material. If we build our system with PVC, we can have a very long-lasting system and requires way less maintenance. Use of a sheet cloth, as I mentioned, a 50% sheet cloth is sheet of cloth that can be fitted above your A-frame, which can prevent 50% of sunlight from coming in contact with the crops. As I mentioned, too much sunlight can cause nutrient breakdown, which can cause your crops being better tasting. Self-irrigating system can be added to your system, which means by way of a simple pump, which circulates water throughout the PVC, that can water your crops. Also, you can add your salts to the pump, where you can actually fertilize your crops by way of irrigation. There is drip irrigation, and you can go by hydroponics. Okay, thank you very much.
Hello everyone, my name is Rajiv Gosine and I will be providing information on the plant nutrients and the management of the plants.
Hey everyone, so on the topic of plant nutrients, soil is a major source of nutrients needed by plants for growth. There are three main nutrients which are needed by plants for growth, which are nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Together they make up the trio known as NPK. Other important nutrients are calcium, magnesium, and sulfur. We go a little bit into detail each of them now. So firstly, nitrogen is a key element in plant growth. It is found in all plant cells, in plant proteins and hormones, and also in chlorophyll. Atmospheric nitrogen is a source of soil nitrogen. Some plants such as legumes fix atmospheric nitrogen in their roots. So secondly, we have phosphorus. Phosphorus plays a big part in energy transfer from sunlight to plants. It helps stimulate early root and plant growth and hastens maturity. The third important nutrient we have is potassium. Potassium is important in the immune system of plants. It helps increase vigor and disease resistance. It also helps form and move starches, sugars, and oils in plants and can help improve fruit quality. So other essential minerals we have include calcium, which is essential for root health, growth of new roots, and root hair, and also the development of leaves. Secondly, we have magnesium, which is a key component of chlorophyll, the green coloring material of plants, and is vital for photosynthesis. Thirdly, we have sulfur, which is a constituent of amino acids in plant proteins and is involved in energy producing processes in plants. So now on to plant management. There are 6 different methods used in plant management. Firstly, observations. Observations include several steps, which includes monitoring the crops daily, checking for wilting, which is like the drooping of the leaves or the drooping of the plant itself, and watching out for insects and other pests which can damage the leaves or the plant itself. So the second step is, well, something that all of us should know when it comes to plants. It's watering, and this should be done twice daily to ensure the proper growth of the plants. So thirdly, we have fertilizers, which are very important for the growth of plants. Nitrogen and phosphorus are 2 very important nutrients when fertilizing seedlings. And when the seedling has sprouted, it should be fertilized once a week. So fourthly, we have topping up, and this involves replacing the soil which holds the plant every 4 to 6 months to ensure that the plant does not have the essential nutrients it needs missing. So fifth, we have pesticides and weeding. Pesticides is required to help repel insects and other creatures which damage young seedlings and plants. Weeding is required weekly to ensure the healthy growth of the crop. So finally, we have harvesting. So there are some crops which take like a month to grow and some take more than that. Crops which include lettuce, cabbage, kale, celery, and chive can be harvested within a month, whereas tomatoes, sweet peppers take a little bit longer to reap.
Okay, good day everyone. My name is Travis Aliasgar and I will be presenting the construction of the proposed design for our grow box project. Okay, so this is an instructional video how to build the proposed design for our grow box. This is the final project assembled. Just waiting to put the shelves on the plants.
The following pictures and videos were how to deal if aphids were to affect your plants. So there are a number of ways that you can go about with dealing with aphids. One of the most popular way would be going to your local agri store and getting a insecticide for the plants. However, while conducting research online, there were a homemade remedy that you can use, which were to mix a few teaspoons of liquid dish soap with a quart of water and then spray or wipe the solutions onto the leaves, stems, and buds of the plants. However, this is recommended to be done at the evening, since soap water and the sunlight can destroy the leaves of the plants. And as you can see, I was affected by aphids attacking my broccoli plants and pak choys. So I had a reusable spray bottle at home that I filled with soap water and sprayed my plants to get rid of the aphids.